Welcome back to Grinning Goats, Lightforge Arena Tier List, Lightforge Podcast, Saviors of Uldum, Preview Cards, Stream, YouTube, Podcast thing. This is Adwicta.
This is Merps. We trek onwards. We talk about the cards that don't matter, but really do matter.
Hey, they matter. This is like working class, okay? This is the backbone of the arena we're getting to,
This is the heartland of Hearthstone. Let's talk about these cards.
These cards start at 106, which is barely above the average card you get offered, and we're gonna go all the way down to 75, which is you don't really want to see these cards, but sometimes you're gonna have to take them because this is arena. And how you play with these cards and how you play against these cards will really affect your win rate. Not because you're gonna see them as often as the good cards that you actually want to take, but because there's way more of them, and so they're gonna make up for their lack of desirability with how frequently you're going to be forced to interact with them. And we're going to start off in a pretty good area too. This is where like Sunwalker and Nesting Row are, okay? So we're going to start off with Golden Scarab. This is the new Tomb Spider. Where is Tomb Spider, by the way? This is not as good as a Tomb Spider, apparently. Tomb Spider is a 110. Golden Scarab is a 106. 3 mana, 2/2 beast. Battlecry, discover a 4-cost card. Whereas Tomb Spider is a 4 mana 3/3 beast. Battlecry, discover a 3-cost card. So at 3 mana, you don't really want a 2/2. At 4 mana, 3/3 is more passable. But yeah, overall they're about the same size card advantage wise. I don't know. Tomb Spider was interesting. This will be interesting too.
Yeah, not much to be said about it. Anti-tempo, but you grab a card that could be immediately useful the next turn, even if you're playing on 3. Not bad.
Paladins love it. Okay. That's Golden Scarab. We're going to just fly through these. Most of these don't have that much discussion. Although this one does. As soon as I say it, I see what's up next. Sunstruck Henchman! 103. Yeti's a 102, by the way. By the way, Yeti's a 102. This is the lowest Yeti has been. Like, if you guys have watched this tier list for like a long time, you may be looking at it and being like, why is Violet Worm so low? Why is like Basilisk so low? It's because in the metas you're remembering, Yeti was probably like a 110. Yeti's a 102 now. Why? Because Saviors of Uldum has so shifted the average. We always center on 100. Because how good cards are is only a thing relative to the other cards in the pool, right? Like, a 4 mana 6/6 is not a good card if your other 4 mana cards are 7/7. So Yeti is a good like barometer, and Yeti is about as low. I think this actually is the meta where Yeti is the lowest rated. So that could also inform some of your other judgments on the earlier cards. And it also tells you how good Rap Golem is. Rap Golem is probably like near a 170 in a meta where Yeti is a 110.
Yep.
Probably not a 170. Probably more like a 160, like a low 160s. But still.
This is the first thing I noticed. So in our internal discussions, when I first looked at the test server, I was just like, wow, everything is so much lower than I remember, right? It's like the snails, the basilisks, the fungal mancers. I'm like, these weren't the scores they had before. Everything is like on a string, right? This is why we have the algorithm. Everything is on a string, but it pulled everything back. Or it sort of pulled everything a little bit closer because the new cards have shifted everything, right? Because it's all like if they're putting so much pressure on the end, it squeezes everything else a little bit together. And this is kind of what you're going to see as well. Now, Sunstruck Henchman. Did you talk about the stats for the card already?
No, go for it.
All right, 4 mana, 6/5, Pog. Rare neutral minion. At the start of your turn, this has a 50% chance to fall asleep. What that means is at the start of your turn, 50% of the time, this can do nothing.
It loses its attack.
It loses its attack. You can't do anything. So, obviously, you get +2 attack from what you're supposed to get, but there is a big risk. There is a downside to it. I would say, I think this is probably the expansion in which I had the least amount of complaints and I had the least amount of hate, but this is the card I consistently hated on. And I think it's fair to say that we went up to the end and still I'm just like, I hate this card. I can't do this card. And this is one that, I will sign off on basically every other card that's revealed, but this one,
you don't think it's as good as a Yeti?
Nope. I do not. I do not. This is one.
Oh.
And this should not be a surprise to you, Avukta. You know, like I've been talking about this for so long. I'm like, nope, don't like this card. Definitely not.
Well, the card's effect is pretty mathematical in what it does. So I am pretty confident on this rating. I actually wanted it to be higher. Like, my instinct said this card should be better than a Yeti.
Guys, wait, hold on. Do you want to listen to Merp's Arena Extraordinaire previous #1, or do you want to listen to the guy who thought 1 + 2 = 2 just 5 minutes ago? Okay.
I also think 1 + 2 is equal to 1, and sometimes 3. Like, it's on a spectrum.
You never know. You never know. Okay.
Open your eyes, people. It's not always 3. Your world is a richer place if it's not always 3. Just keep that in mind whenever you do math. And then you'll end up with an algorithm that can pretty damn accurately predict all these cards. Sunstruck Henchman. Okay, so here's my pitch for the card. All right, so it's falling asleep a lot, 50% of the time. Ogre, the normal Ogre, 3 mana 4/4, right? You only gain 1 stat where it should, but it never falls asleep. It always does something. Although on curve, where you hit doesn't really matter. It's always going to be a positive. But right after the curve, where it hits is oftentimes like a negative, and you would either not attack with it anyway, or you would like have to do other stuff. Like, I would still say I'd rather have the option to attack or not attack on every turn, rather than a 50% chance to not be able to do anything, but then get to actually pick my target. Yeah. But you're getting a whole extra stat here. That is a whole extra stat of bonus, and that only brings it up to be still worse than an Ogre. Like the other Ogre. The 3 mana 4/4 Ogre. It's still worse than that on the value wise. Like, it's not going to go lower than that. You play this on 4.
It's a lot worse.
You play this on 4, right? And if it falls asleep on the next turn, you don't get your kill on the curve, right? So you don't get like your kill on the 3-drop. But it's also not hurt. More importantly, like, you remember what happens when your opponent plays stuff like Soldier of Fortune or a Hungry Dragon or whatever. Your opponents get freaked out. Your opponents get freaked out because they normally want to remove all of your stuff. They can't remove this because then you'll get value. The whole point of this is like a shredder, right? The whole point of this is so that you have a sticky thing on the board. So here you have something that is just a 6/5 so many percent of the times for 4 mana. And we know how good a 5/5 for 4 mana is in Banshee. We played with it. We felt it, right? Like, it's not just numbers and algorithm telling you it's good. It's just insane. So here, your opponent still has to try to remove this thing, or they could take that 50-50 chance, which we penalize pretty heavily, by the way, on the RNG side. So if they take a 50-50 chance, and even if they win the 50-50 chance, you don't get to do anything with it for a turn, you'll get to do stuff with it again at some point. Or else at some point this becomes a 6/5 that they have to remove. Like, you're not going to keep flipping tails. So even if this card is not going to give you your next attack, which is the main attack, which is the one that has a lot of its value, your opponent still will always be faced with this terrible decision of whether to treat this 4 mana card as a 6/5 or to flip a coin. Like, you may think by playing this card you're doing the coin flips, but no, you're not the one doing the coin flips. For the most part, your opponent is the one doing the coin flips, because your opponent is the one that decides whether this guy lives or dies. For the most part, it's pretty big.
Okay, all right, you've made your case.
Now, anyway, it's around where Yeti is. Like, that's where we have it. We'll see. All right, next is Phalanx Commander. It is a 5 mana 4/5. It is a common card. Your taunt minions have +2 attack.
Not bad.
It's our first taunt synergy in neutral, which I thought was going to be like, I thought it was going to come way more than 5 years after the game was released, that they were going to enter this design space. But they finally peeked out into this design space of letting neutral synergize with taunts. Yeah, it's fine. There's going to be a lot more taunt minions in this meta, like we've said. But at the same time, it is a synergy card. You are going to have taunts. Yeah. It's also 5 mana 4/5 by itself. So if you don't have taunts, it's kind of meh. But yep. Anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Okay. Now we are moving down to 100. We are now at Harvest Golem level, down from a Yeti to Harvest Golem. You also see how like these cards move. Like I remember back in Classic, like Harvest Golem was, I mean, it was always worse than Yeti, but it was still up there. And now it's like, I guess it's still up there. I take back my point. Kartut Defender, 6 mana, 3/4, taunt, reborn, death rattle, restore 3 health to your hero. Here's the other taunt that's coming into this meta in addition to what do we have before? Bone Wraith before, right? At 4 mana. Now we have at 6 mana, Kartut Defender.
This is your 6 mana game extender. You know, we just went from Safeguard to this, sort of, right? Safeguard definitely taunts for more. This doesn't taunt as much, but this restores health. So if you're just looking for game extension tools, this is it. And you know, classes definitely could use it if you want to play that controlling style. If you just want to play for removal, this will be a good tool in your arsenal. You taunt, you get a pretty annoying minion, you restore some health. It's exactly what control decks need to reach their big AoE turns.
Yep. It's also is there like a separate claw coming up from his foot?
What?
Look at the picture. There's like another like hand claw, or is that just his foot? And he's just taking a really awkward step.
That's just his foot. He's got just like a evil thing. He's like got an evil claw.
Grr. That's such a weird foot claw. All right, that's gonna bother me. I'm never drafting this card.
Apparently, Kartut Defender is top of 6 bucket.
That's correct. That's where it belongs.
Okay.
Injure Toby is next. We're now a little bit below 100, but pretty much 100. This is where your like normal stuff is at, and this is normal stuff. It's 2 mana, 2/6 taunt. Battlecry, deal 3 damage to this minion. So it's basically a 2 mana, 2/3 taunt that can be healed. Not much to say about it. It's a solid 2-drop coming in.
It's a solid 2-drop. I think some people will be surprised because I see already immediately we have a couple comments. Wait, how is this so low?
What?
It is, yeah, I know, because I saw the same thing on Arena HS. I think people looked at this, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Wait, why? So I mean, it's good, but it's like,
good.
Like keep in mind, like, you know how Mad Bomber used to be like 110? It's like a 99 now. That's how much everything's lowered.
So one of the problems with a 2/3, I think people are still thinking of 2/3s in that in Rise of Mechs, in which you needed 2/3s to dodge the Hogsteeds, to dodge the Horse Riders, to dodge the Spring Rockets, to really just stabilize you on turn 2. The problem with 2/3s now, and kind of 2-drops in general, if they're not a Neferset Ritualist with late game, with huge late game significance, or a Stubborn Gastropod, which has limitless board attack, is there are so many strong 3-drops. There's so many good.
And there's going to be decks that just don't have 2-drops for you to trade this with anyway. Right? Yep. Not only will 3s dominate it, there won't even be 2s potentially.
That's really the problem. It just faces a problem of being too small and not relevant enough, right? It's not that we hate 2-drops with good effects. Like Neferset Ritualist obviously is really good. It's just that the 2/3 stat line is not as relevant, and it's just a little bit too small. That's it. It's just a little bit too small. And turn 3 is where you have this huge power spike, and this 2/3 really isn't going to kill off anything that's coming out on turn 3. You have all of these 3/4s, and you have the Tar Creepers, you have the Lone Champs, etc. This thing is kind of meh.
Yep. And remember, everything's got like Yeti's gone down by like 4 points since the last time we saw Yeti, and Yeti's been historically down since Rise of Shadows. So like Raptor is a 93 right now. I don't know where Croc is. I need to go find Croc, but Croc is really freaking low. So like this card being a 97, it has taunt. Like we like our taunts. We like our small things with taunt. This is not maybe some other tier list that you may have known which rated 2-drops with taunt as lower than neutral 2-drops. We like our taunts even if they are small, and it's just a factor of everything being moved down, right? Like, you may be thinking of Raptor as a 100 card, looking at Injure Toby and being like, 99, what? Well, Raptor's a 92 now, so Injure Toby is a 97.
Yep.
Where is Croc?
Doesn't exist
85.
Anymore.
Ooh.
85.
85, so low. This is why we have to go all the way down to 75 in this video. Because you have relevant cards going all the way down, right? Like, Croc is a relevant card. It's 85 now. Croc used to be like 92, I think.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And I think a lot of people, even if they are familiar with the tier list, you expect other cards to be the same and all the other cards to move around it, right?
Yeah, but no.
Yeah. So here's the way our tier list works, and here's the way we think about the game, and you should think about the game as well. It's not, whenever you're adding in a rotation or adjusting to a rotation, you're not taking the cards that we know existed and moving the new pieces around it. You reshuffle everything and create a new framework, right? Because if you're taking the old ones, you are already saying, I have data points and I will fit the new data points to fit my old data points, right?
Yeah.
Which you can't do.
Because it's no longer relevant.
The new, because if you're doing it in that situation, all you're saying is like, okay, how will the new cards be affected by the old cards and never the other way around? You need to think about how every card affects every other card, and not just how the new cards fit in relation to the old cards.
Yep, it's just a new meta. This is how everything fits together now in the new meta.
Yep.
That's what happens when there's power creep, really, if you want to have a simple one-liner for it. Power creeped. Mermy. Next card, common, 1 mana, 1/1, Murloc, Reborn. So it's another Archer Squire, but Murloc-y.
Yay.
It's a 97. Like Argent Squires, it's always a little below a Yeti, but not too much. Not much to say about that. Next one, Wasteland Assassin. 5 mana, 4/2, Stealth, Reborn. So here you have a, I think, pretty viable, because when you reborn this card, it's going to be another 4/1 Stealth. So you're basically dealing 4 damage to stuff over the course of 2 turns for 5 mana. Like, that seems like a normal-ish kind of card. This is the place where you have your Rockpool Hunters, Galactic Crawlers, Fairy Dragons. Like, it's a normal place. It's a normal card. It's balanced.
Yeah, it's fine.
Taro says Wasteland Assassin top / or bottom of the 4th bucket. All right, top or bottom of the 4th bucket is probably a little high for it, but we'll see.
Probably won't be picking this too often. Yeah.
Next is Dwarven Archeologist, 2 mana, 2/3. After you discover a card, reduce its cost by 1. Fine. It's like a Raptor with upside.
And you will discover, there's a decent amount of discover mechanics.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons why it's actually a significant amount higher than a Croc.
Yeah, it's got 9 points on Croc. Having a taunt was like 13 points on top of Croc.
Right.
So
guaranteed
is like kind of below.
Taunt plus heal potential. Right.
Yep.
And this is a thing. Like, we recognize that discover is a thing, but still.
All right, next we're at Wasteland Scorpion, 7 mana, 3/9, poison, beast, common. So
able to get pained by priest. Amazing.
Okay, this is Raptor level. I don't know. This is it's a big guy, right? Like, he's where Linecracker is. This is a good, solid, big minion that's not going to make anyone too scared, but like, you'll pick him. You'll play him. It's not too hard to figure out.
5th bucket. I think that's fair.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Beaming Sidekick, 90. 1 mana, 1/2. Battlecry. Give a friendly minion +2 health. This is getting lower now. We're at Young Priestess levels, Gurubashi levels. This is a 90. We jumped from 94 to 90, so that's a pretty big jump down. Still better than a Croc. But
yeah, the problem always is, because I think some people might think that this card should be higher as well.
Really?
Because the effect is decent, but here's the way you should think about it. You can't, like, if you play this on turn 1, it's terrible. It's pretty terrible.
So it's not a 1-drop at all.
It's not a 1-drop, and a 1-mana card that's not really a 1-drop.
Yeah, like what are you
Oh
doing?
man, that's
Like,
pretty bad.
compare this to the Priest one that also draws you a card instead of putting a 1/2 on the board. How much worse in the mid to late game is like dropping a 1/2 than drawing a card?
Everything.
Yeah, it's like a ton worse. And yeah, sure, that Priest card is like borderline premium, but yeah, this is, I don't know, it's not doing anything for me. It's pickable, but you got to be pretty aggressive as a deck for this to be meaningful.
Right. So this is apparently top of the 3rd bucket. Ooh,
What?
yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, buddy. You will not see me picking this anytime
Same
soon.
bucket as DID and Phoenix. Holy crap. Okay. This card, don't ever pick this card. Wait till it drops some buckets. All right. Anubiseth Warbringer. We are now at 88. Some people really like this card, apparently. I won't name names, but it's not good. We're down here with the Tovir Stone Shapers and the Frost Elementals and the Sewer Crawlers, Corrosive Sludge. Like, playable still, right? And a 9-mana card that's playable. That's something, right? There's not that many 9-mana cards that's playable.
For our system, you have to really overcome the unplayability for the previous 8 turns.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like like if you're a good player, and we always assume that you're a good player with the Lightforge tier list, not having a choice is a huge deal, because the only way that you are better than your opponent is by making choices better than your opponent. So the fewer choices you get to make, the less you get to like show your skill. So not being able to make a choice for like 8 turns potentially, that's kind of huge. And yeah, so Anubiseth Warbringer is a 9-mana 9/6 Death Rattle. Give all minions in your hand +3/+3. So this is like the worm problem, right? But like even worse. Comes out 1 turn earlier, has a worse body. You have to still have cards in your hand, which means you had to have set this up somehow, and that you're not emptying your hand. So you've been playing real slow, drawing cards. They have to be minions. So like, if you're playing a spell-heavy deck because you're a control or whatever, that's not really going to work. And then to get the value, you don't even get them on the board with a bunch of 1/1s. You have to then start playing those cards out. Like, yeah, like this is not going to work.
It's really slow. But look, 88. Who knows?
Yeah, like it's still a huge ton of card advantage.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can't even always say about a 9-mana card.
So Warbringer is apparently in the 6 bucket.
Okay.
Pickable, sort of. Kind of.
It depends on your deck, right? Like if you're
Depends
like if your deck
Maybe
works with
pickable.
this, it's a lot higher than 88. It's just that the vast majority of your decks won't work with this.
Yep. So this is a card in which this is a sort of card in which in Rise of the Mechs, there's no way it works.
Yeah, right.
There's zero way it works. In this meta, you'll find more opportunities, but more as in higher than 0. So yeah, it's an 88. I think some people think it's significantly worse. I don't think it's significantly worse, but it is.
Because it's like actually like really good if you have the right kind of deck. It's just really hard to get that kind of deck.
Yeah.
Like it's not
But
it's not
as
unplayable.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like look at some like I'm gonna find a card that's like worse and super highly high mana'd. I don't know if there is one. Oh, Living Monument we're gonna get to at some point, right? That's a 10 mana card. That's a 10/10 taunt. That's a 82. Like this card's clearly more playable than a Living Monument, and Living Monument does something when it gets on the board too. It taunts. So okay.
Yeah.
Infested Goblin is next. 3 mana, 2/3 taunt. Death Rattle. It's a rare card. Death Rattle. Add 2 1/1 Scarabs with taunt into your hand. So you're giving up something like 1/1's worth of stats, which makes it also unable to be played on turn 3, really, in order to get 2 1/1 Scarabs with taunt. That's not a good deal. Playable. Nope. This is where Ironfur Grizzly is, and we all take Ironfur Grizzlies as a 3-drop when we need to. Sewer Crawlers here, all 3-drops.
Yep. Goblin, Infested Goblin is apparently in the 6 bucket, so
fine.
Maybe.
Next up, we got Body Wrapper, 4 mana, 4/4. Battlecry, discover a friendly minion that died this game. Shuffle it into your deck. Okay, so the ability is negative. Just so we're all on board with that. The ability is negative because the stuff you died is generally not as good as the big stuff that you want in your deck. On top of that, the stuff that has died already in the game. On top of that, shuffling a minion into your deck is probably something you don't want to do because that dilutes your spells, which are generally better. So this ability in the arena is a negative. But it's a 4/4 for 4 still. So it can only be so bad. And 86 is not that bad. Like, this is where War Golem is.
No. Alright, cool.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of, I'm going to skip a couple cards because War Golem is here at 86. This is how the algorithm works. War Golem is here at 86, and if you go down, you will find Living Monument at 82. So Living Monument is actually worse, a little bit worse than a War Golem. A 10/10 with Taunt is worse than a 7-mana 7/7. Even though you think, well, that seems like it's strictly better, and it has like some quasi-initiative with the Taunt. But that's just how much that 3 extra turns of delay works, because that's about when you run out of cards.
Here is the thing that you really need to consider. The delta between turn 2 and turn 3 is smaller than turn 3 to turn 4, and it keeps on going like that. So the things that can happen, because when I talk about delta, I will talk about it in the way that is most applicable. The stuff that can happen, the swings that can occur, the tempo that your opponent can put out, and just the craziness that can happen in between turns 8 to turn 9 and turns 9 to turn 10 are so huge. You guys know it's like once we reach that, at that point, your opponent can pull out crazy 2-3 card combos. There are individual cards that cost a ton of mana that can, impact the board a lot more. So that's why whenever you see something like at 10 mana, and you see something like a Pit Croc or a Kraken or something, and you're like, wait, like this is not as bad, right? 10 mana, 10/10, taunt. Why isn't it a little bit higher? It's because it has to get through the 9 mana turn first. And that we account for, and the algorithm accounts for, the huge swings and the huge amount of stuff that can happen in turn 9. So what can happen going from turn 3 to turn 4, turn 4 to turn 5 is so much smaller than what can happen from 8 to 9 and 9 to 10 that the punishment is ridiculously huge. Yep.
That's how you lose games. When you have a 10 mana card in your hand, it's turn 8, and you're like, well, I'm top decking now for 2 turns. That's how you lose. Having a taunt on the 10 mana doesn't really help that much compared to not being able to play cards. Okay.
Yep.
So just to give you an idea of how much Crocs have fallen, Croc I said was like an 85, but that's also because it's a beast, and beasts are kind of relevant. Neutral just averages all the cards up from all the classes, so it's taking like into account some pretty good beast bonuses in Druid and Hunter. An actual just like 2/3 is Questing Explorer, which I don't know if it's in the arena or not. We put it up there because we haven't heard any confirmation that it's in or out of the arena, so it could just not be in the arena. But still, this is a 2 mana 2/3 card. Battlecry, if you control a quest, draw a card. So in the algorithm, it has no ability. You will never have a quest in the arena. And that's an 83. That means what we normally considered a curve card, which would be rated somewhere around a 100 in a typical meta. In this meta, where the 2-drops are so good, they added so many like good 2-drops. Bug Collector, you have Tempo Berserker, they're both common as well. And then you have Injure Toby, another common one, Mermy, which is a common 1-drop. Like, you have all of these cards that are coming in, and you have all this power level coming in from the top. And you have the ability, more of an ability to not even use 2-drops and just start off 3, which makes 2/3s especially bad. Like, this is by far the lowest I've ever seen a 2/3 be rated. Okay. Going back up a little, because we skipped a little bit to talk about the Living Monument at 82. 82 Living Monument is around where Fen Creeper is. And Fen Creeper is missing like a lot of stats. Okay. So, Desert Hare back up to 85. This is where War Golem is. This is where Jungle Panther is. Desert Hare is 3 mana, summon 3/1/1s. They're all beasts.
Yeah. Well, it summons 2/1/1s. The body is a 1.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't... Yeah. See, are you guys going to trust Adults on this stuff? Come
it's
on.
3 mana, you get 3/1/1s, right? That's
yeah. But, however...
Okay. for just to give you, I don't know why this card exists really. It's fine as it is, but once you have bees as a card, which is 3 mana summon 4/1/1s, and it attacks something on the same turn, it's like, okay, fine.
Yep.
I'm sure I can do something crazy where you have to keep summoning things of the same name or something at some point in Constructed. Good to evolve, says Theripido in chat. Yeah, that's true. It is a good evolve target, fair. But they like literally just printed a card a year ago that was Micro Tech Controller that we all saw in the meta, as recently as a week ago, and that was a 2/1 with the same ability, but mechs instead of beasts, so whatever. Now we get to Jar Dealer. So keep in mind we're still in a playable area. I know 85 seems really low, especially if we keep with our tier list, but we're just in this new meta now where things are low. All right, and at 85, Jar Dealer is Death Rattle, add a random 1-cost minion to your hand. 1/1.
It's in the bottom of the 3rd bucket.
I'm not surprised it's high. I know some people rate it higher than we do, but really a random 1-cost minion is really likely to be crap.
There's a ton of really bad 1-cost minions, guys.
And like, what are you doing? What are you using this in? Like an aggro deck? In an aggro deck, you want a better 1-drop than a 1-mana 1/1.
It's not even a beast.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I guess he's sentient, even though he looks like a snake.
That's the thing. If this were in the 6th or 7th bucket, I could draft it in Aggro Hunter. If it's in the bottom of the 3rd, I can never draft it because that's a good bucket. There's plenty of really good cards in that bucket.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like people will play with it and find it underwhelming, and it'll get lowered in buckets soon. But that's not a card you should draft. Faceless Lurker at 82. It's around where Bluegill Warrior is, around Guild Recruiter, around your Fen Creepers. It is a 5 mana 3. Oh, it's around a Fen Creeper because it is a Fen Creeper. It's a 5 mana 3/3 with Taunt. Battlecry, double this minion's health. So unless you have some hand buffs going on, it's just a 5 mana 3/6 Taunt. And there's not a lot of hand buffs in neutral.
Yep. So apparently this is in the 7th bucket. You'll never see it, guys.
That's fine.
That's fine.
All right. Let's get to the end of this. We got a couple cards only left. Vile Fiend, another 2 mana 2-drop-ish. 2 mana 2/2 Lifesteal. It's also a demon. It's a common card. 2 mana 2/2 suck.
Yeah. Scores 81. Whatever. It's there.
It exists. Conjured Mirage, 4 mana 3/10 Taunt. At the start of your turn, shuffle this minion into your deck.
Score of 79. Here's the way you look at it. I mean, it's kind of, not really. In some situations, it's like a neutral Frost Nova, right? In which you freeze their board because they don't want to attack into this thing because they don't want to give you the credit. But the problem is you don't actually freeze them, right?
Yeah, they can like hard remove this if they need some damage or some stuff.
Yeah, and also, do you really want this minion back in your deck?
Yeah, this is not a good thing to put it back in your deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, think of it as a Frost Nova, but like weirder and less good, but neutral. Going down, so now we get to a very interesting card, Fish Flinger at 78. Fish Flinger is a 2 mana common card, 3/2 Murloc. So normal Raptor, Battlecry, add a random Murloc to each player's hand. So this is like Spellslinger, but with less RNG, but this is where the penalty comes in. Our Raptor is what? Like a 93, I think? Our Raptor is a 93. Well, there's also more beast synergies, but like our Fish Flinger is a 78. That is like 15 points. Let's call the beast tag something around 1 or 2 points at this point. So that is like 12, 13 points. 13 points for the RNG. Because what you don't want to do is give the opponent a usable Murloc and get an unusable Murloc back. That is bad.
Yeah, and we have accounted for the fact that you start off in the lead, as in you start off with this Murloc on the board, right? But the problem is you still don't want to roll the dice and give them a play for next turn, right? If they didn't have a play, or you don't want to let them high roll on this.
You know what? Actually, I take that back. We may bring this back up a bit. I am not considering, like, the algorithm is not considering the fact that the card you add into your hand will synergize with the Fish Flinger. or the percent chance that it will do that.
So you just maybe lie to everyone.
Well, no, it takes into account the fact that you get the card first and you can play it first. It's just not smart enough to know that the percent chance that the card has to synergize with Fishflinger.
Oh, so you still made me lie. You set me up to fail. I thought we were a team.
It's still not going to be as good as a Raptor. The RNG is it's a harsh penalty for RNG because we don't like RNG. Because if you're a good player, you want to rely less on RNG as much as possible. But yeah, we'll look at that. I think this is gonna just stay a little bit lower than it should be when we launch the list, and we'll adjust it.
All right, sounds good.
All right, going down to Mischief Maker, 74 points. It's a 3-mana 3/3 Battlecry. Swap the top card of your deck with your opponent's. That's meaningless in the arena. No one's setting up the top of their deck here, so it's just like a 3-mana 3/3, which is a 74 because they kind of suck right now, or they've always kind of sucked. But especially when you have actual 3-drops that you can play. All right, Serpent Egg 72. It is a 2-mana 0/3 common Death Rattle. Summon a 3/4 Sea Serpent.
Cool.
Yeah, like fine. It's an egg. It does egg things. Eggs are viable in the arena these days because you can get enough buffs. What's his face is coming back? Fungomancer. This is not as good as your other egg, your Devilsaur egg, which is a 80. That's the 3-mana 0/3 that summons a 5/5 Devilsaur. But you know, it's here. Okay. That's it for this video. We've covered all the cards that I think can be arena relevant in neutral that's coming in, and we will move on in the next video to cover the really bad cards plus the legendaries. The legendaries are actually insanely good, but we're covering them with the really bad cards because you're never gonna see them in the arena. That's not true. You're gonna see them. You're gonna hate them. But okay, that's the next video. Thank you guys for tuning in on this. If you are watching this on YouTube, please give us a like, give us a follow. Go back to the videos you watched before and do the same. It's really appreciated. We've been getting some momentum on our YouTube in the last couple months randomly. I don't know, like I've been checking too, like no one linked us or anything. The YouTube algorithm just decided that we were worthy of being like featured like as the recommended video for like for other channels. And so it's been a really serious bump in our numbers, which is good because that helps support our video editor who does all the 12-win runs and all these uploads and all this stuff. And that is David Attenborough says. Thank you so much. Any more shout outs we want to give? Let's give a shout out to the patrons again.
Okay, to everyone that for some reason gives us money for doing what we do, thank you to 4P, Afro Ninja TP, Brand New, Cheng Yin, Joshua C, Kirby 5 Life, Eric L, and RV Night Train. Also, we should give a shout out to Arena Drafts.
Oh, yeah.
If you need help during your drafts and you want to have a cool interactive software that displays the Lightforge tier list scores, check out Arena Drafts. It helps everyone out, actually, because by using Arena Drafts, we're able to, at the beginning of any meta, really get the data to establish what buckets cards are in, so you can help yourself by gaining an advantage and help the community at large by giving everyone more data.
Yeah,
so,
if you care about this tier list, like it's just really nice to also just see the scores on your screen as you're like drafting instead of looking it up every time. And yeah, ZD Man does that, and he's really good about getting things up and running on like day one. So yeah, definitely check that out and help us gather some stats on the buckets. Taro's been calling them out in chat right now, so huge shout out to that as well. But some of these cards are going to be less frequently seen, and we will want some data on it. Also, shout out to all of our subs on Twitch. I know we haven't been streaming as much as before because Merps has been out, but he is back now, and he will resume his normal streaming sessions at some point, not immediately, but at some point in the nearest future. And
soon TM.
And when this expansion launches, we actually are going to be doing our normal full week long of streams. So that is like Tuesday through Sunday. There's a stream every night. Merps will have his first stream back on Wednesday, and then he will also do some bonus EU friendly maybe time stream on Saturday. So the Monday streams are not back yet, but we do have these additional bonus streams coming up for the release.
All right, guys, that's it. Let's talk about really crappy cards and then really, really good cards in the next video.
All right, see you guys. Until then, I am Adwicta.
This is Merps. See ya.